We're rolling. Brandon Counts.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on Brite Cast. Tell me a little bit about Potomac Plumbing and Gas and how you guys started, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, like we were just saying earlier when we weren't recording, you and I go way back. We're friends for a long time, coming on 25 years, I guess now.
Yeah, at least.
It has been a long time, and in our older age, we don't get to hang out as much, so it's good to be here, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Potomac Plumbing is a company I started I started this company itself back in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
My roots go back to my father being a plumber. He started Oakton, Vienna Plumbing in 1978 and got his license around the mid 70s and stuff like that. So I've never not been in the trade. Been in the trade my whole life. I tried to go do some other things and kind of just came back to it, and I love it, man.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing your dad had an influence on. Did you start learning when you were
absolutely
really young?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got thrown into it real young. I mean, I installed water heaters by myself when I was 12 to 15.
Oh, wow.
First
little sweatshop going on there.
Yeah, well, it's not legal, I don't think.
Yeah.
But, I mean, but we're doing the 80s, the 80s, early 90s, it didn't really matter at that time.
Yeah.
Did a lot of physical labor, chopping concrete, residential settings and stuff like that.
Right. How long did he have Oakton, Vienna Plumbing?
Up until he came to work for me, actually.
Oh, wow.
In about 2012. Yeah.
Why did he do that? Just because he wanted to just do the labor part of it, didn't care about the leads?
He was getting older and just didn't want to do handle everything anymore.
Yeah.
And I had kind of set up to where I could have him, pay him to come work for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he was all about it. So I sort of absorbed his business into Potomac at the time. And then
did that kind of get things boosted?
It did
a bit because he had a lot of clients for that many years.
It did, and they were all contracting clients, not residential service clients, which is a whole nother thing we can get into.
Yeah. So
I ended up canning and firing all those clients.
Oh, wow.
Because the residential contracting industry is volatile and terrible.
Yeah.
But that's a.
Well, I mean, what is the reason for that? Just so you just go straight to customers now? Don't have any in between guys? No shady dealers and stuff like that?
Yeah, because when you're marketing yourself to say a builder or a remodeling company, those types of companies are looking for the bottom of the barrel price.
Yeah.
They're looking for the lowest price.
Because they need to make their margin.
Right. And if I want to offer my customer the top quality service, that doesn't go hand in hand with the lowest price.
Right.
So what I'm doing now is offering my residential clients an opportunity to work with us as, they can choose anybody for their plumbing, but they're going to choose us because we literally roll out the red carpet for them.
Right.
We top-notch service. They feel very taken care of, best warranties around, all that kind of stuff. And they want to use us. And when you do that, price really becomes irrelevant. They want to work with you.
Yeah. Well, being nice to deal with, not lying to them and overselling them something they don't need. Having all the scheduling stuff that you guys have in place now, and you actually show up on time, and then tackling the new market that we were saying. So you moved out to Front Royal right before the pandemic?
I mean,
during?
That's a cool story in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we've got time. So met my who was to be wife in February of 2020, and I would say by June, by June we were moved in there. There in Front Royal together. I don't suggest that timeline. But,
I mean, if you know, you know.
We did know,
right?
And we both had been divorced, and our family blended well, and we just kind of both knew what we wanted. The pandemic hit, and it did accelerate our timeline a little bit,
right?
But so that's how it ended up happening. Moved to Front Royal. I'm from the Fairfax, Gainesville area. Migrated west my whole life. But in that growing up, my grandparents had a house kind of near Front Royal in a town called Rileyville.
Yeah.
On the Shenandoah River.
Cool.
So I spent my summers growing up there.
Tubing and stuff?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff, man. And so when I had a chance to, move to Front Royal, I was familiar with it, and just kind of took advantage of it. It was a big move, but there was a lot of things being shaken up around that time.
Where were you? You were in Gainesville before that?
I was at that point in Warrenton, the new Baltimore Warrenton area, which to me, growing up in the 90s, that was Nokesville. But now they've dressed it up as Warrenton. Yeah,
my parents are basically there now, like off of Dumfries. You know, it's like right in that area.
Yeah,
And
it's
even
a nice area.
Matt Kitchen moved to New Baltimore.
Okay.
As well. He's on the mountain.
Okay.
Now.
Cool.
Yeah. So Front Royal is, we were talking like it's kind of an untapped market for the tier of service that you're giving.
Yeah.
How do you think that's like helping to grow the business and your reputation and stuff?
It's something I kind of didn't realize when we moved there, because I was still servicing, this area a lot, even still going into Fairfax and Loudoun and all that kind of stuff, and spreading myself all over the place, But as we kind of got more familiar with the market, we saw that, man, there's nobody here that has good branding, shows up same day, answers their phone, offers really top quality service. There's nobody that does it. And so when we started showing up in, people's houses in the Front Royal and the surrounding areas, answering our phone the same day, showing up the same day, performing the work the same day, offering a great warranty, people were just all about it.
Wow.
So it's been great, man. It's been great.
So do you have like service packages and stuff that you do, or like monthly stuff or quarterly or anything that people can, to have you come check on water heaters and filtration systems and stuff like that?
Yeah. We used to have a membership program that included some of those types of services. And then we found ourselves doing too many free things, basically.
Right.
So we kind of phased that one out. But we do have a membership program that includes priority scheduling for the VIP member.
Okay.
15% off all of our services and no diagnostic fee.
Okay.
And then, whatever service they go for, they get 15% off.
Right.
And no diagnostic fee.
Right.
And we do have packages that we, water treatment, because that's like our main specialty. Water treatment takes more follow-up than most things do. So
why is that?
You're in a lot of situations, you're dealing with equipment that's constantly regenerating itself. Sometimes things can get jammed up. It's not like, a faucet, you put it in and you walk away.
Right.
So there are some continuing things that people will purchase services from us where a lot of times, like a softener takes loading a 50-pound bag of salt every couple of months, and so a lot of our clients don't want to deal with any of that. And so they just pay us to come bring the salt, load it up, check everything, make sure everything's working right.
Right.
They don't want
And I imagine there's probably some more need for that out because there's probably more wells out that direction.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're dealing with within water treatment, where there's really only two kinds of water treatment. You either have municipal water, or what we slang as city water.
Yeah. Ours is terrible.
Yeah. Well, the typical profile for that is a lot of chlorine, a lot of hardness or mineral content.
Yeah.
But when you're on a well, it's what we call the Wild West of water treatment. I mean,
Right.
Your neighbors can be completely different from yours. You can have anything from sulfur smell to red staining from iron all over your clothes, or you can just have a perfect water profile.
Right.
Who knows,
And what's the reason for the difference? Is just where the well is drilled, essentially?
Exactly. I mean, you're drilling, hundreds of feet down into the ground. It just depends on the vein you tap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just might have
Yeah.
a terrible
Wild,
place
man.
that you do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not for most people, but you just don't know until you drill it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, man. When they go drilling a well, they can't even guarantee they're going to tap water, but you still got to pay for it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's kind of risky. So, some people they tap water that's not hard. It's got a high pH. It's alkaline. It smells great, tastes great, and they don't have to do anything to it. Some people, it's got red staining. It smells, it just depends.
We had at my family's old place, like, I don't know if you ever went there, but it was across town in Manassas. Yeah. They had well waters, and without a filtration system of some sort, it was pretty brown. They would get like the scum around the tub. I mean, that's probably because, there's 20-year-old guys living there and they're not cleaning enough as well. Yeah. That's part of it.
Yeah.
But, there's definitely they could have used a much better filtration system for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And, a lot of people don't think about that or focus on it. But I mean, if you think about what terrible water does to your expensive dishwasher, your fridge, on your water heater, on and on and on, the cost of a water softener compared to having to replace your appliances every 5 years.
Yeah.
It really does. It really kind of just,
So what's a water softener system cost for like the average, 4 or 5 bedroom house? I don't want to say average, but like a single family house. What's
the range really depends on, on the city side. If you want to do a filter with all, because we treat chlorine with carbon. Right. So if you want to do a combined filter, those are cheaper. Or if you want to do all carbon, all softener. We try to give people as many options as possible. So we can set you up in a more, affordable option with a small carbon filter, or you can do a more permanent one. So, the smaller ones start out at 45 to 5,000, and then 4,500 to 5,000. The bigger ones can go from 6 to 10,000. It just depends,
right? And what's like the lifetime? Do they last forever as long as you just change the filter out, or or they get rusty, or what? What's the lifespan?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of the products that we try to recommend to our customers, we know they're not a plumber. So we don't want anything where they're having to like change out a filter or anything like that, right? So when you have a unit that's all self-contained that has the media inside of it, that's going to limit the customer having to do anything, right? And that's your more long-term, more expensive style,
right?
So those, like a slang term, what we call a city soft, is a softener and a carbon filter combined. So have you ever seen someone run their water through charcoal? It's kind of the same idea. There's got activated coconut shell carbon in it. That carbon can last at least a decade.
Okay.
And then it's easily replaceable after that. And then the tank is fine, so you can replace the carbon, put it back into service, be good for another decade.
And that's for the lower priced ones?
That's for the more middle to expensive tier.
Okay. Well, so you're still looking at under $1,000 a year to have good water.
Exactly. And, think about it, it's taking care of your dishwasher.
Right.
It's going to extend that life. It's going to extend the life of your water heater. And my favorite part is, I'm on a city water profile, Town of Front Royal, which is very similar to here and a lot of other municipalities. You've got the lot of chlorine. Most municipalities are like 1.5 to 3 parts per million of chlorine, which is like pool water.
Yeah.
And then you've got the mineral content because it sits in limestone beds before they treat it. And a lot of people don't notice how bad that is on your hair and your skin,
Yeah.
So with the nature of my job, how dirty I get and stuff, man, it's my favorite part to go home and have a shower beer and get in my soft shower, and I just sit there, and then I feel refreshed to go like kind of hang with my family. And
so it's a filtration on top of a softener. It's together.
Yeah. Okay. So you can do them together where it's one softener, but there's a plate in the middle, and it's two. The first part of it is all activated coconut shell carbon, which removes all the chlorine, unwanted tastes, odors, and is now proving to start to be able to be effective against like PFAs, PFAS, and forever chemicals, microplastics, and stuff like that, making it safe.
Which is terrible. I mean, if you watch Rogan, plastic stuff is
it's awful. I mean, I think we consume up to a credit card's worth of plastic a year, most humans. So that's not good.
Yeah.
So it's that technology with the microplastics being in water or those concerns are kind of new, but it's showing now that the carbon can actually help with that.
Okay.
Among a lot of other things.
Right.
And then it moves through that middle plate in that one tank down to a softener, which essentially is an ion exchange, and it takes the mineral content out of the water, replaces it with a sodium ion. And so that way you're just left with nice water that's nice, on your hair, your skin. If you have like dry, red splotchiness on your skin, it'll
has there been any? I have a couple of people that I know that have dealt with psoriasis and eczema and stuff. Does it help with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to cure if you have psoriasis or a case of it, but it's definitely.
Can it be more gentle?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And there was a case where at my old house, I was getting the red on my hands, the cracking, and I would have to put like lotion and gloves on at times. And once I got installed my softener, it went away.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good for people to know.
Yeah.
Just to know, there's multiple reasons why that could be happening and they don't know exactly the reasons, but if that's something you could do to help, the people that I've known that have had it it's miserable.
Yeah. I mean, most of our clients, they say things to us like, hey man, we just moved here and my kid is struggling, their skin is, and then we provide them with, a correct softener for their water profile or water treatment system. And we always follow up and ask them, how's that going? And they always like, hey, it's been great,
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad got me a zero water filter thing just for us to try, and he got one of those little reader things, whatever they're called.
Like a TDS meter.
Meter, yeah. And when I measured it, it was 169. And when I used that filter, it goes to 0.
Absolutely,
and we've been doing. It's just been a couple months that we've been trying it, but the water tastes different to me.
Those things work great
for sure. And we had been oh, we're on city water, everything's fine. But I'm like, probably not.
Yeah. And then you're still dealing with fluoride, which there's still a lot we don't know about it and how bad it is. A lot of people say it's good for your teeth. I think that's their excuse why they put it in the water. Nobody really knows.
Yeah, what's up with that? Want to get into conspiracy parts of the podcast?
We can. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen stuff about that too. There really isn't a reason for it.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And the only way to mitigate that, a carbon filter and a water softener.
That gets rid of it?
No, it won't take care of that.
Okay.
The only way to do that, I mean, the ultimate water treatment setup is you want to have your whole home system, which is dependent on what you need, city water or well, whatever, your softener. And then you send the water out through the house, right, treated. And then you go to an RO or a reverse osmosis, which is always point of use, like at a sink.
Yeah.
Right. And that takes care of pretty much everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's that running you, though, to do all that?
Oh, I mean, if you're looking at a softener and a reverse osmosis, I mean, you're looking at $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, $12,000.
Okay. Not terrible if you have a new house and you're going to be there for the next 10 years. It's not the worst investment.
And like the things we're seeing right now in leaving Front Royal and going north up 81 into like Stephen City.
Yeah.
Man, that place is terrible. The EPA recommends softening your water at 3 grains of hardness, and those neighborhoods are running 20 plus. And these are building all these brand new houses.
Yeah.
Tankless water heaters, really good tankless water heaters, all this, and it's just getting destroyed.
Oh, because they don't have that filtration
stuff? Yeah, I mean, a tankless water heater in these houses that should last 10 plus years, they're dying out in 3.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, just think of that.
Good place to be then.
Yeah,
as a business.
It's longevity and job security for me for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool. So you said you had a team. You maybe talk about what you learned from that, and like as you're kind of restructuring, going back into, getting a team again, and maybe give Haley a shout out for being awesome,
oh, man,
awesome as your admin.
Absolutely. So I spent most of my life, kind of just doing the solo thing. Which I was never afraid to do. And then I knew if I was going to have something or build something that could work without me or provide me a future, I would have to make some changes. So then I started, quick hiring fast, spending on marketing, and investing in ways to serve the customer better, all that kind of stuff at the same time. What I kind of overlooked was providing support, training, and really overlooked what I needed to do to better myself to become the leader that my team needed. And the team I had, a little over a year ago, they were all great guys.
Yeah.
I can't speak to how quality those guys were as individuals. I failed to provide the leadership and the training that they needed to become better techs and what they needed to become Potomac techs.
Yeah.
And so, got to a point where the cost of paying the team, because they were good plumbers in their own right from other companies, the cost to maintain that team was not bringing in the return that we had hoped.
Right.
And so I had to press the reset button and let everybody go and went back into the field myself. And it's been just about a year now that I've been back in the field solo. And now really what I've been focusing on is refining like what it is to offer the Potomac service, and
what the culture is going to be, what the expectations are of someone when you bring them on, and inevitably.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and you have the time was that like a tough pill to swallow?
Very much. It was very humbling. Yeah. It was very.
Those are not fun.
You feel like you failed, but that's okay. I mean, I don't know what president was it that says you fail 1,000 times and that's how you succeed.
Right.
Whatever that quote was, I just completely butchered it. But
I'm gonna put up a fake quote over top of it.
yeah. Some president
like Thomas Madison or something.
Yeah, but no, the idea is, man, like, how do we learn? This is how we learn, and I knew that I needed to make a change. And now having, again, like you said, swallow that pill of going back out there and, putting money back in the bank for the business and refining all these processes that now these new techs are going to need to follow. Becoming the best possible technician myself so that now I can show the next guy how to be that technician.
Yeah, because you can, your expectations of what you have for yourself, it's hard to communicate that's what you have for somebody else. One, you have to lead like that, but you also need to be able to communicate that too. Like, these are the expectations of everything you're going to do, from how you're going to show up, how you're going to talk to the client, how you're going to talk them through what's happened in their house, and we're never going to oversell them something, all that sort of stuff. You might have someone that's a great plumber that actually does it, but they might not have all those other things that you need for them to have to be a representative of the business.
Yeah. So absolutely.
And the other guys you had were, great guys. I consider them, acquaintances, friends.
Yeah.
If I saw them out, I'd have a beer with them.
Absolutely.
So I imagine it's probably even that much more difficult when it is people that you've known for
and that's the hard part. I don't know if those guys like me very much now, but those are the kind of decisions in business, being in business comes with a lot of trade-offs. Yeah. And some of them are friends and family that go down, I call it. Yeah. And that's the hard part. I think being in business is volatile at times. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's really hard. And I think a lot of people just give up and they want to go settle for a job where it's secure, So when I did, to answer your question, when I did face that time, I knew when it hit me, it all hit me in one day. Right. And I just realized,
looked at the numbers and was like,
I realized what I needed to do that morning. And by that afternoon had let everybody go.
Honestly, that's the better way to do it.
I just had to cut the cord.
Yeah. It would have been worse for you mentally to know for a month and trying to think, what am I going to say to them? I respect them. I love them, whatever. But it's, ballsy of you to, for lack of a better term, to know and just be confident and do it.
These are the decisions that come with being a CEO or a business owner. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't make it in business because they're afraid to make those hard decisions. Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to be in business either way if you
don't. Exactly. That was what I was looking at. Right. Is that I can't continue like this. I had to choose my family first. I had to be able to put food on my table. Yeah. Exactly. So before we move on too far, you mentioned Haley. Yeah. Gosh, one of the best hires we've ever made.
Yeah, she's awesome. Guys.
She's so great.
when you call Potomac, you'll be talking to Haley, and she's great.
A part of in business, and especially a service-based business like ours, is one of the biggest battles is answering the phone and getting there, right?
Especially when you're on your own in the field.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever needed something, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to, man, who am I going to call? Right. What am I going to do? It's really nice when someone's like, hello? Yeah. Hey, I have this problem. No problem. We'll be there. You're like, all right, cost really doesn't matter. They're going to come fix it. Right. That's what kind of the deal is. And Haley's just been such an integral part to that. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that, I kind of did a lot of things backwards by hiring plumbers first. Now, if I look back and I started this whole process over again, I would start with a CSR first, customer service representative, to answer the phone, fill the schedule, deal with the customers, talk to the customers, and I can go out and be the best technician possible.
And all you got to do is show up to the job, do it right.
Take care of that customer.
Sell whatever that needs to be done, do estimates and stuff. You don't have to worry about, dealing with answering the phone or
while I'm under a cabinet or something.
Exactly. That's probably a wise thing as people start to grow. That's what I'm, working towards too. Just having someone that does any admin stuff. Just because, answering emails and answering calls, it's just getting a bit overwhelming, and I'm at that place where it's like teetering that I'm going to have to do that. But I need someone I can't steal her from you. So.
Well,
she got a sister.
That's funny. Yeah. I didn't realize how pivotal that hire would be. Yeah. And that was,
and you kept her even through the tribulation of
she was going anywhere. Yeah. And we've since given her, I think, 2 raises.
That's awesome.
And we want to keep doing that. She's great, man. She's just an integral part of our team.
And she would be able to, if it continues to expand, like I hope that it does, if there's another admin, she could train them.
That's the idea.
This is how I do it. This is the expectation.
Yeah, we will move to multiple CSRs. Yeah. And at that point, she'll be the one to be able to kind of be the mama CSR,
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So one thing I've been asking people on each time is how do you deal with the work-life balance? For you guys, you have a blended family. You have four together?
We have 4 blended, yeah.
Okay. What are the ages?
2 and 2.
2 and 2, yeah.
So I have my 2 who, 2 girls. about to be 18 and about to be 16.
Jeez Louise, time has flown.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow.
And I think I have an 18-year-old. She's going to graduate. I mean, we're planning her graduation party.
Awesome.
And all that kind of stuff. And wow, it just goes by so fast.
Yeah.
So we have my older two, and then my wife Janet. When I met her, had Galen. Now I have stepson, which is awesome because I didn't have a boy. So now I have him, and I get to do all the guy stuff together, which is great.
That's cool.
Galen is 13. And man, he's really coming into his own as a young man. And he's so impressive and so smart.
That's awesome.
And then we have Hartley, who's our youngest, Janet's youngest. She's 8.
Okay.
And man, she's just a firecracker, man.
The youngest are. I'm
she's
the youngest.
She's so cool.
Yeah.
She's such a cool kid. And man, it's messy but so beautiful, and just the way our kids have like become siblings and they get along really well. And it's when we have everybody together, man, it's just the best. And our blended family schedules lined up from the moment we met, which is one kind of things we knew.
It's very abnormal.
It is very abnormal.
Yeah.
We didn't have to change anything.
Right. So is everyone with you, or like what's the schedule?
We have so Janet has week on, week off. Straight.
Yeah.
Holidays don't matter. Friday to Friday.
Right.
That's how that works. And then I have every other weekend and every Wednesday, and then a bunch of times on top of that. It's pretty. Now that my girls have gotten a little older, me and their mom are a little more loose with. Yeah. Now that they drive, they just drive over they drive to my house. They stay longer. They. In the summer, they pretty much are here for the whole summer, stuff like that. So. And
you said did you teach them how to drive?
I did.
Yeah.
Which is cool, man. You kind of look back at things that don't seem great at the time, but then you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was pretty pivotal. Right. So like, of course, being divorced sucks. Yeah. And then when I met Janet and moved 45 minutes away from their mom, that was kind of hard for me too. Yeah. But what it did provide my kids and myself was a lot of time in the car. So when I moved
talking and seeing each other.
So when I moved 45 minutes away, I committed obviously to keep our schedule the same. Yeah. Right. So I'm leaving Front Royal, driving to Warrenton, picking them up, drive back and forth from Front Royal to Warrenton was my life until they started driving. Yeah. So as soon as they got their learners, I didn't want to baby them, and I threw them right in, and you drive. And so now it was scary, dude.
Stick shift yet?
No. I'm actually trying to look for a play car to buy that's stick shift that.
I think it's just good to know when the inevitable apocalypse comes.
Absolutely. You get in a car, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I learned on a stick shift and a family van and stuff. So I think there's not a lot of those out there, but it's just good to have the knowledge of, just in case, God forbid, something happens, and it's fun. Yeah. Once you get the hang of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is fun. Yeah. And I believe in our distracted day and age, too. It kind of keeps you occupied with your one hand on the stick shift, one hand on the wheel.
I wouldn't want to do that having to commute if I had to do that. But, it's just fun driving around.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had one of my first cars was a Mazda MX-6 Turbo.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, the gray one. That's probably when I met you for the first time. Oh, man. That was a lot of fun. I got 3 tickets in 3 months. And I found out that I had a suspended license for a year when I got the letter in the mail saying it wasn't suspended anymore.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's pretty funny.
I like to pedal to the metal. I don't really speed anymore, but, when you're 18, 19.
Sometimes I just look down, and I'm like, especially my wife and I, we have an old Cadillac Escalade. Oh, yeah. It's all beat up. I like to preface that because it's not fancy, it's an old one. But that thing just still, it's a Cadillac. It rides so smooth, man. I look down and I'm, oh my gosh.
I'm going 90 on 66. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So, how, with having those, that blended family, how is that
so you were asking about work-life balance and stuff like that.
Is there, some people there is no work-life balance, you just work and then you...
No, it's a constantly evolving struggle. I feel the pressure that it's on me to provide for my family, but also to spend time with them, and it's always hard, man. Like I said, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, it comes with a lot of trade-offs, and a lot of that time is lost time with family. But also the beauty of owning a business is to be able to say, no, I'm going to go spend time with my family.
Right.
And so I think that I obviously am now and will always be on a journey of learning to balance the two things.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you're going through like rougher times and like, I need to work because, you know, I gotta provide. I gotta put some cash in the pocket. I gotta, you know, rebuild things. So that's always tough. But, you know, so when you're going to like start over with hiring a new tech and stuff and like looking at re-expanding, how do you think you've learned and changed from what your lesson last year?
Oh man, I've grown so much.
Yeah.
I mean, when I thought at that point I couldn't have any more self-growth, I've grown 1,000 times more.
Okay.
You know, just
what do you think that's due to? Just like looking back at what happened?
Yeah,
and
man.
Your mentor that you have too talking to you about it?
Yeah, my coach. I got to give a shout out to my coach, Jared Williams. You know, he's just awesome dude. And he was the one who was like, hey, man, maybe you should just let everybody go. And, at first, I was like you said, it was a hard pill to swallow, but it ended up being one of the best things, you know, that I did. I thought I had all these things figured out, and I just didn't. I just didn't. So now, you know, reapproaching this thing of hiring new technicians and there's a couple ways I'm going to approach it differently. I was operating on a selling tech model, and really hadn't provided the guys the sales training that they needed.
Okay.
And so a lot of times we're just sitting back watching diagnostic fees come in instead of sales. And I was still paying them hourly. And it's kind of not a good model for making money.
So do you have like a sales training setup, or you send them to a course that they have to go through or something?
We can talk more about what the Potomac or how I view sales.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a separate subject.
Okay.
But
circle back around to it.
We really don't sell. We educate and give the customer a top-down view, and then we provide them as many options as possible on the spot. And when you provide options, you give them cost comparison.
Right.
And so when you do that and you give them options written on the spot, you know, you're kind of letting them say no to something. And so the pressure's off.
Right.
And then,
which I think is a huge thing in service companies and stuff. Like I know that I tend to gravitate towards people that I know are going to be honest with me.
Yeah.
And like if I need a new HVAC system, I'm going to call my friend Aaron Sajeski from Brennan's, because I've known him for 25 years again.
Aaron's a good dude.
And if I need it, he'll say, yeah, you need it.
Yeah.
But having, you know, that no pressure sort of, you heard of Jason Miner before? He's like a sales guy, but
I've heard the name.
You know, talking with like cold calling and stuff like that. I think people they have their guard up. They expect you to try to sell them.
Absolutely.
Instead of be like, I'm just going to tell you the truth. Here's the options.
Yeah.
You know, I would do, and especially if you have 4 options and you pick a lower priced one.
Sure.
You know,
I'll do it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, man.
Yeah.
It's your choice. I don't care. Yeah. And I even tell customers on top of that, look, I'm expensive. Right. I'm not cheap.
Right.
You know, I'm the best. I'm going to give you the best service you've ever had, man. I'm literally going to roll out the red carpet for you. I'm going to give you the best warranty. You're going to feel so taken care of.
Yeah.
But I am not cheap. You know, if you want a 30-pack jack or a butt crack plumber, they're out there. You know, but that's not me. You know, and I'm not the most expensive. You know, you've got your big box companies out there too that are going to charge a crazy amount.
Right. But they might not have the actual personable.
Yeah.
They live in the same city as you.
Yeah.
You know, they've grown up there. And
there's
stuff.
just some tech in your house. You know, it's some dude that, you know, that he's not invested in that business. You know,
right. He's just making a paycheck, which not hating on that.
Sure.
Everyone's got to do it. But
absolutely.
There's a little, with a more grassroots small business, there's the personal touch, you know, there's familiarity. If you, like you said, he's had someone while you're out to dinner, they see you when you're on their Facebook ads and stuff.
Yeah.
So that really creates like an awareness of you, but also like the trust factor as well, which I don't think that a lot of people focus on. They're just focused on 10% off the service or whatever. And that's great, but you're also going to get the customers that are expecting that you're going to try to sell them.
Yeah.
Right.
We do. We see it a lot.
Yeah.
We see it a lot.
And the people will probably pay more. Tell me what I need. Don't sell me. That's kind of how I feel. If I really need that thing, I might get a second opinion, but I'm probably going to go with you if you were honest.
Yeah. And that whole, I don't even like to call it sales, man. Like our process is literally just to educate and provide options. And it's amazing.
So were your techs not doing that before?
I just don't think that they were, prepped enough to be able to see all the options and to be able to offer them. And I don't know if I provided a payment structure that incentivized them to be able to want to do the work on the spot.
Right.
Because that's half the battle, especially in plumbing too, is that, people are calling you today. They want the work done today in most cases. And when you're saying you can get the work done today, you're beating out most plumbing companies. Because they're always going to be like, hey, we'll schedule you for later or whatever, or we can get there Monday.
But that's still costing you in gas and your tech hours to go back out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you incentivize, like hiring a new person? If, let's say, I needed a water heater today.
Yeah.
And they sell it today and install it today.
Yeah.
Like what would the potential commission or something? You're still working through that?
So this sort of answers your question that you asked me earlier. So how I'm going to reapproach this and go back into this now. Yep. Been talking with my coach about this is we're looking at kind of doing we're first going to open up a install only plumbing position.
Okay.
I'm going to stay in the sales. This is what I tried to do when I realized I kind of needed to late. I started taking all the sales appointments, but it was too little too late. So now what we're going to do is bring on a really good installer. And, that criteria is someone that's got a lot of good experience, good with customers. And they're going to be install only at first. So I'm going to stick with all the sales appointments. Yeah. That's what I'm best at.
Right.
I've, very good close rate, good with customers. That's where I shine.
Yeah.
So, and that's also, you want people placed where they shine. You want people placed with what their strengths are. And that's part of leadership too, is realizing, hey, this guy's good at this guy's not good at this. Right. Setting them up for success, those kind of things. So we'll do like an install crew and me doing sales where I'm not bogged down with install. Because right now, I'm doing everything.
So you could go sell a job and then call them and be like, hey, get over here in an hour with whatever.
Hey, go get a water heater, show up at this address. I'm on to the next sales appointment.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll... And you won't have to... And then you can scale up because you know how many you can sell and what your average amount is. And then, so start with one guy, and if he gets too busy, then look at the next guy. Yeah.
Then what we will
They still need to have like... Yeah. This is what Potomac expects, even if you're just installing how you treat the clients and putting the stuff on your shoes,
Yeah, we will have KPIs, key performance indicators that we go over weekly with each technician. These are these just cutthroat expectations. I don't know, cutthroat's not the right word, but just clear expectations. And if you're not meeting those, first, what can we do to set you up better to be able to provide you what you need to meet those? And then if it keeps happening, you're gone.
Right.
It's just that. This is performance based. This is customer satisfaction based.
Well, and it's you've worked really hard to create a good reputation.
Yeah.
And if they're going to start screwing it up for you, that can't.
You're out of here.
Can't have that.
Yeah. And we will then once I have a couple techs and I can see that they're good with customers and they have the ability to sell, because there will be where they're on a job and they see,
something else
and they can sell to the customer, then we will open up what we call a selling tech, which is kind of what I'm doing, where it'll be anything over an hour goes to an install crew.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the selling techs will have a commission structure.
Right.
They'll have all that kind of stuff. They'll be expected to do 800,000 to $1 million by themselves. Right. And that's the expectation.
Yeah.
And we'll have key performance indicators weekly and our weekly meetings that we'll have to go over with each tech. But starting out first, when we reintroduce hiring again, it's all about bringing them into a culture, having our shop now, bring them into a culture where they'll start with install only. We'll see how they do taking care of the customer, gaining 5-star reviews, all that kind of stuff. Right. And then we will eventually open up another position that will be what we call a selling tech.
Yeah, it seems like a much more feasible way to grow.
Yeah.
Much more realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so
it sucks that it took me so long to learn how to do that.
We can't control when we get to the destination, right? As long as you learn something from it.
Yeah,
that's kind of the key part of it. For the KPI stuff, like what sort of things will be on that? Is there a way to kind of automate that? Or?
One of the number one things that we're gonna that we focus on now and that we will be focusing on is efficiency.
Yeah,
we want to sell more hours than it takes us to do the work. Right. We want to be that efficient.
Yeah.
And then now we're getting into service titan.
Right.
I don't care what anybody says. If you're in the service industry, service titan's the big dog, man.
Yeah.
It's expensive, and it's expensive for a reason. It tracks everything. Yeah. It does everything.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
And when you get into the point where you want to grow your business, where you need data, data, whoever, data. When you need data, ServiceTitan is the big dog.
Right.
And it tracks everything.
And I think a lot of like smaller companies just aren't ready. They're more worried about keeping the lights on, paying for bills and stuff. But
right.
once you get to,
I want to send someone an invoice, and that's it. Yeah,
and that's fine. But
that's how I was.
If you really want to know what your ad spend is, how long people are on a job for, like, what's the average time to replace a water heater?
3 to 5 hours.
Okay. If they do it at 3 all the time, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, and you would know that.
Some of the larger ones we have built into our price book. Again, ServiceTitan,
right?
Pre-built price book.
Yeah.
Which they don't have to. They just boop, boop, boop. Here you go. Like, it's that simple.
Right.
And a lot of the larger ones we have 8 hours built into, but you can get them done in 5. And so you're 100 plus efficiency.
Right. And so when you see people consistently that are under the allotted time.
Exactly. Hey, how can we help you become more efficient?
Right.
I'm not just going to can them right away, but hey, man, what can we do to give you the tools you need to become more efficient? Here's the expectation.
Yeah.
You're here. We need you to be here. What do you need from us?
Yeah.
And then if it continues, then we'll have to.
Right. Well, that's a good way to. Have the system micromanage instead of you.
Exactly.
Having to micromanage, and like the numbers don't lie. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It's very obvious. These are the expectations when we hired you. You're not meeting them, or you are, and we'll know.
Yeah.
And it makes you. I had a boss that was at my last real job when I was actually in the office at that time. He was over my shoulder all the time.
Oh, that's the worst.
It was the worst. So, and it didn't make me better. It made me not want to work there
when
anymore.
People micromanage, it doesn't.
Yeah, but I would always do everything I was asked of.
I think people want to be trusted to do a good job.
Yeah.
I
mean, you're hiring me to do a job. If I can do it in 2 hours as opposed to 5 hours for the other person, what does it matter? I'm getting it done.
Exactly. Right. And don't make me stay here till 5 if I'm done at 3.
Yeah, exactly. There's literally nothing else to do. I would just watch Breaking Bad or something.
Yeah, and then they're paying
and
you
pretend
for that
I was working. Yeah,
that was my problem. You talking about being an entrepreneur and why I've always been. I've had jobs, but I've always been. It's because time being valuable. That's one of those things.
Right.
Like man, I can't be at a job where I've done the job and now I have to stay here till 5 and waste my life.
Yeah,
I want to
exactly.
go home, man.
And sitting in a cubicle was. I'm grateful that I had the jobs that I had.
Sure.
Like the last one that I had, I ended up the last 4 years I was working from home. So that was great,
cool.
which was what made me start more Brite, because I was like, I don't ever want to go back to, commuting or, I also had 6 weeks of vacation. So I knew I wasn't going to get that if I go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't even get 6
Yeah,
2 weeks of vacation. But I do have like flexibility. I choose to work more because I'm trying to grow the business.
Well, and also I think you're more motivated because you're doing it to build your brand. You're doing it to build your future.
And there's not a ceiling on that. The ceiling is me. The bottleneck is me. The harder I work,
that's a subject we can touch on too.
Oh yeah, we can go right into it.
I'm going to go as far as my growth. I'm going to be as limited as I limit myself.
Right.
And I choose not to grow or don't grow.
What do you think the biggest growth things for you over the past year have been?
Oh man, God, well, I have to give a shout out to my wife too, man.
Yeah.
If I hadn't
hold on.
Yeah.
Shout out to it.
I want one of those buttons. That's awesome. Man, I'll tell you, this is another subject we can get into, and I don't want to digress too much, but the whole male, female, masculinity, femininity, when a female challenge, she doesn't know she's doing it, but that's her job. Going back eons, it's her job to challenge the male. And I think a lot of males take offense to that instead of realizing it's making me and sharpening me into the best possible version of myself.
When it's done in love.
It's done in love. Right. But I think that, men don't realize that the resistance they get from the feminine is meant to make us better men.
Right.
Until I made that realization, it's been part of my growth. Mm-hmm. Is that, she's not fighting me all the time. Her femininity she's refining you. Is refining my masculinity and testing me, and in a good way, And until I realized that was a huge growth for me, and it has everything to do with my ability to lead and run a business and be a good leader for my business and my employees and be a good dad and a good stepdad and a good husband. I mean, all that's tied in together.
Right.
You know, and so, I mean, it's a lot of pressure at times, you know?
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, it's a tough enough to be a W-2 employee and having a family, right? And keeping a roof over their head and keeping them fed. But then when you sink or swim and it's all on you,
everything.
Because if a W-2 job, you can probably get another one.
Sure,
if you're loyal to a company for a while and they downsize, you can probably get another one.
Yep.
But to lose a business or to make it great, you know, it's a lot of pressure to have.
Yeah.
Is there more or less pressure you feel now than you did a year ago?
Yeah, because
less.
Yeah.
or it's just like plateaued, maybe.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So what was the original question? Is why I brought up my wife. I think.
I don't know exactly. We can go back check tape.
It was just about. I mean, it's all kind of interrelated.
Yeah.
You know, the challenges of being able to do all this. You know, if I hadn't met my wife, I don't think I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be building my business in this way.
Because kind of you turned a corner a bit because you've been doing it for what 10 years before.
Yeah, I mean, I started this in 2012.
8 years.
And what I was doing was, you know, I was offering good service to my customers.
Yeah.
I was trying to grow my brand. You know, I mean, you and I started doing marketing together a while ago.
I think, maybe?
And that was about the time. It was about a year before I met Janet, and you know, I was still trying to do all those things, but really, Mike, I was doing what I needed to do to get the money in the bank, and then, you know, going to the bar, and you know, and
I mean, when you're single, that's kind of the incentive.
I was
a little
there
bit.
for my kids, you know. I was, on the time I had my kids, I was a good dad. I was, you know, always. Never missed any time with my kids, you know, and I was always being dad, and then I would go hang out and, you know, hang out with my friends and do cool stuff and travel. But I never focused on like saving money or really growing the brand or really growing the business and all that. And then when I met Janet and then we kind of got all these dreams going together, I was like, man, I really got to come through.
Yeah.
I really got to like step up my game.
When you have a partner to help you see that vision through, and there's a reason. You know, if we want to sell by the time we're 50 or something, and go retire in Key West, which you're going to, right? Then you got to get your ducks in a row and really build a brand. If you're just kind of like a guy that's just putting money in the account, someone's not going to buy that business most likely.
No,
and if you're a full branded thing that's killing in your area, then they will buy that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I never would have got to where we are now, or have the trajectory that we're on. Had it not been for, you know, having Janet in my life and kind of having that femininity push me to realize, be like, oh shit, man, I gotta really like step up my game.
Right.
I gotta personally grow. I gotta become a better man. I gotta become a better leader. I gotta, you know, all that stuff. So,
and you're not necessarily incentivized until you have that person.
Yeah.
Right.
I think so.
I mean, you're being a great dad and all that sort of stuff, but like, as long as that piece is sort of missing and you're single, it's nothing wrong with it, but
I was just
I'm trying to have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in my 30s. I'm trying to have fun. You know, have a good time.
Yeah.
You're in your 40s right now.
I'm 40 now, man.
40 officially.
September. Welcome
to the club.
I think that changed things a little bit too. I mean, you know, I didn't just turn 40 and be like, oh, I'm 40 now. But you know, looking forward to it when my 38 to 42, I kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, man, I really gotta. I don't know. You can start over at any age, but I felt like, man, if I don't have kind of my shit together by 40, then, you know.
Well, then when is it going to be?
Exactly.
You know, might as well. That's a good milestone to kind of like, if you did have you know, if you really want to build a business over the next decade, you know, who knows where you could be by then, you know, especially if you keep moving in the directions that you're going towards, you know, who knows? I do want to segue a little bit into you had your appendix taken out. Tell me that story, just like, you know, a little more personal of a story about what's happening and how crazy that was and how it, you know, how you dealt with it in the business and stuff too, because you were out for a while.
So I'm thinking, God, it feels like it was recent, but it was the summer of 23.
Oh, was it that recent?
Yeah, because this past summer, 24, was a year anniversary of it.
Okay.
So a lot of people have routine appendicitis. I don't know if it's a routine thing, but they have it taken out and they're back up on their feet in a couple days. This is what I heard.
Yeah.
Right. So, or what I had seen in the past. So what ended up happening with me is, Jen and I went out to dinner, normal day. And then that night I started to feel like I had a stomach bug. And then it went into the full 24
Was it like
hour.
bubble guts?
Like
sort
I had,
of?
like I had diarrhea in my pants, but nothing.
Oh man.
And then started dry heaving and just,
oh wow,
like, what is going on? It felt like a lot like food poisoning. So I either felt like I had a stomach bug or food poisoning. And then when it went into the next night and
the whole next day too?
Yeah, the whole next day.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't go to work. And even my employees were like, Brandon does not go to work.
Right.
Like, that's weird. He must be really sick. And I'm like, all right, I must just be really sick. And so when it went into the next night, I tried to get up and go to the bathroom, and I was like cold and like shaking real bad.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't even make it to the bathroom. I was shaking so bad. And I was on the floor, and my wife was like, it just kind of like clicked to her that this seems like appendicitis.
Oh, yeah.
So she got me in the car, and I mean, it had at that point gotten so bad where if she hit a bump in the car, it was so painful. And I have a pretty good pain tolerance. I've been through like terrible injuries and stuff, and it was really hurting, man. And so we went. They diagnosed me right away. Yes, appendicitis. And they got into surgery that night, and I think the next morning, whatever. But I guess, long story short, what had happened is the antibiotics that they put me on, I was immune to.
Oh,
and so they were never working. And so I developed I'm trying to think of the word. I basically got infection. I went
like
septic.
sepsis, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get sepsis where pretty much if you actually have sepsis, the chances are pretty slim.
Yeah.
But I just had a large infection, like mass inside my body. And they didn't find it until I was in the hospital for like 10 days.
Oh, wow.
After the surgery, they released me home with antibiotics and pain pills. And then I had to go back that night because I almost passed out.
Oh, wow.
And my lungs started to fill fluid.
Wow.
And
so how long did it take them till they figured out, he just doesn't respond to this?
So what ended up happening...
I hope that's on your chart now.
Yeah, right? Please. So what ended up happening was I stayed in the hospital for like another week. And they were just managing my meds and giving me pain meds and all that kind of stuff. And because the doctor that did the surgery went on vacation the next day.
Oh.
So I had another doctor come in.
Yeah.
And shout out to Dr. English.
Dr. English.
Saved my life. Yeah, hello. He was an American guy. Okay. Dr. English. Yeah, that's funny. He would not, he was hung up on why my white blood cell count kept, I don't know what it is, going up or whatever. Yeah. And he just wouldn't give it up. And he found, I don't know, not an abscess, whatever. I don't want to get too graphic, but essentially a pocket of infected fluid inside my body. Yeah. And then, so they had to put me, this is like my 5th CAT scan, which they're worried now about how much CAT scan fluid I've been drinking, And so one doctor was like, no more CAT scans. And then he says,
you're like,
yeah, dude, I'm like turning blue from the fluid,
I need my another fix.
Yeah, and so they send me in. They're like, "All right, this is what we got to do." They find it. They find the big infected pocket or whatever, and then so I mean, I was white at this point. I had lost 20 pounds.
Wow.
I was white
over a couple weeks.
Well, a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't eat anything. I had zero. I had just IV.
Wow.
I mean, I was dying, man.
That's crazy.
And so what they had to do is send me into this donut MRI CAT scan thing, find the abscess on the screen, and take this huge needle and just get everything out. And I had to watch them. They couldn't put me asleep. They said they were going to put me...
Did they numb the area at least?
They numbed the area, and they would barely give me any pain medicine. And dude, it's one of the worst things I've ever been through.
Oh yeah.
And because of the lack of pain medicine, I felt everything.
And your foot came off.
Yeah. I mean, this was worse.
Way worse than that.
Yeah, because that was so painful that I didn't feel any of it.
Yeah,
Or it was so traumatic. Yeah, I didn't feel any of it. This, I was like watching them.
Oh wow.
And they could hit something, and I'm donezo.
That's crazy.
So they got they got all that out, and then they released me the next day. Then when like a day later, Dr. English calls me and he's like, hey, your cultures came back and you're resistant to the antibiotics this whole time.
Oh, wow. So they put you on something else that you weren't?
He put it in right away. My wife went up and got them, and 2 days later, I felt much better. But with that hole they made in me, I don't get, again, too graphic. Yeah. With that hole they made in me, they had to attach a bag.
Oh, wow.
And I had to measure.
I had
to measure the amount that came out.
Oh, man.
It was another week of that.
It was like a stint, sort of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I, after a week, I had that, and this was just on and on and on, man.
Right.
That's
crazy.
It was like a month I was out.
But the appendix wasn't even as bad as the aftermath.
Well, the appendix, when they got in...
Had it burst officially?
No, it hadn't burst, but it was almost worse because it was leaking over time.
Oh, okay.
So they were like, man, and this is awful to hear. But once they got in there, they were like, oh, it's way worse than we thought. Yeah. They're like, it didn't burst, but it's been leaking. Okay. So I was all infected.
Oh, okay.
So then the antibiotics didn't work. So
that's crazy.
Modern medicine, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, thank God.
Whatever.
There's a lot of people that I've known recently that, but for the grace of God, was that Fairfax or?
No, that was in Warren. Shout out to Warren.
Oh, Warren.
Warren Memorial
County.
Hospital,
Okay.
the new hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, we don't get to do a lot of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite thing outside of running a business, other than spending time with your family?
Sure.
Going to the beach, vacation, golf, whatever.
Man, I've been head down building my business for so long that I don't want to say I don't know. There's things I like to do with the weather like this too, man.
Oh, it's so depressing.
It's so depressing. I do like to play golf with my buddies.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at it, but it's fun. Go have a couple beers and
I gotta learn. That's my next. That's this year. I've gone to driving range a couple times, but that's it.
Well, you can go with me because I suck. So
perfect. My buddy, actually, a new client, an old friend. He's opening a place in Leesburg, a virtual place.
Cool. Those are real popular now.
Oh yeah, and it's a good place to not. One, you don't have to walk around if you chip a shot crazily, shank it or whatever. But it's a good place to practice as well, or top golf or something like that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like to get out and do that kind of stuff with my buddies. My wife and I, we try to prioritize date night.
Yeah.
Big time. I've been slacking on that recently, but things like that. Travel's a big one for me.
Yeah.
It's one of my motivators is to be able to travel. Right. I don't know. I have kind of a wanderlust. You'd like it too. I know you guys are always doing. You guys are inspiring. You're always doing something. And we've got Key West lined up here shortly. We're gonna fly to Miami and drive. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Your Airbnb?
Yeah, we're getting one with my sister, her husband, and my dad and his wife.
Yeah, okay.
And that's another tying back into kind of the struggle of being an entrepreneur and a business owner. I mean, that's tough too, man, because I don't have PTO pay.
Right.
So I mean, not only do I not be able to make money not only do I have to pay for the trip, but I lose a whole week's worth of income. Yeah. So, when you're thinking about going on a trip, you're like, oh man,
got to bust my butt for, the month before.
Yeah.
Make that extra,
squirrel up.
25%. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
But you can. If you work for somebody else, you don't get that.
Or come back and make up for it.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Which, and then having someone like Haley that's at least handling the phones while you're
booking,
gone,
so
still
I'm
booking
going to
stuff.
come back to a book schedule.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
right.
Which is part of having her is just amazing, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I gotta learn how to golf. That's
Dude, it's like I have such a relaxed approach to it. I always say, and I feel like I get a handful or less of good shots and they keep me coming back.
Yeah. Just have a couple beers with the bros,
Get out. It's beautiful out, and we like to go out in the Front Royal area because it's less people. Right. And the views are great. It's beautiful out there.
If you shank something, you're not going to hit someone.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a bunch of people behind you.
Yeah.
I let people play through all the time. I'm like, hey man, just come on through. We suck,
So you were one of my first clients like early on when I was still just doing it like side business and stuff.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
it's been cool to like
a website
watch
for us.
Yeah, watch us grow and watch you grow and stuff too. Like, so one of my questions is like in the rebrand that you did, what made you choose like the Otter and that sort of, you were kind of led through that, I think, with the marketing team, but obviously it's your, final choice. Did they give you multiple ones and that's kind of what you ended on?
So I got to give again, Janet the credit for that. We knew we wanted to rebrand.
Yeah.
That was one of the things when we signed on with this marketing company, they sort of offered a monthly fee for a package of everything. They did ad management, website, and they did rebranding all included. So we're like, hey, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
And our looking back, our brand was very bland.
Yeah.
When I look at it now, I'm like, how did anybody notice that? I mean, you got to have a brand that pops.
Mm-hmm.
We had the name Potomac, and we're like, all right, river, everybody's got a white guy with a wrench.
Yeah.
Everybody has that. So we're like, we're not going to do that. And so we're thinking, all right, something cute. What relates with a river? And then Janet just came up with the idea of an otter. And we're like, who doesn't love an otter?
Yeah, adorable. People pay money to go swim with otters.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's
man.
your second business after you sell Potomac Plumbing?
I guess so. And it has been quite the home run, man.
Yeah. Awesome.
So
it's very recognizable too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is.
It's not, and I don't think a lot of other companies have sort of a mascot.
No, I mean, you see them out there, but not
a lot of them.
A lot of them are very good.
Yeah.
And I got to give a lot of credit and a shout out to Mammoth Marketing in Alaska, Fairbanks, Alaska. Their rebrand design team, Janet and her kind of collaborated over it, and she came back with the otter with the wrench, and we were like, yeah, that's pretty freaking cute,
Yeah, it is cute. It is cute. You could, just something I'm thinking about for the local, like Front Royal. I don't know what the high schools are out there. You should get a mascot and go to the games.
That's a really good
costume.
idea. Here's the otter.
Yeah, exactly.
Hand
out,
have to get
little pamphlets or something.
Soft wrench, so it's not a weapon or whatever.
I mean, you can find that, I'm sure, right?
And having our really, as we started to look at our demographic, our target customer, our target customer is really the well-to-do couple who is busy and
double income, don't have time to.
Yeah, and they got soccer and they have no hot water. Like, let's get it done today.
Yeah,
whatever. We offer really quick and easy financing. So all right, great.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty easy as long as you don't have terrible credit to get.
Oh, approved. We get approved in like 30 seconds.
Oh, wow.
It's easy.
That's awesome.
It's all integrated in ServiceTide.
Yeah.
I mean,
another reason
everything.
to, yeah.
I mean, you don't play with the big dogs, you got to go with ServiceTide.
Right.
And most of the time, it's the female in the house making the decision. It really is.
Yeah.
More often than not. And so, I mean, it was a really smart move to brand to the otter. And I can't tell you how many houses I go in. And I'll be dealing with the husband or whatever, and then the wife will slide by and say, we called you because of the otter. Yeah.
Hey, man, if
and
you
it works.
Yeah, exactly.
It works. I can't believe
especially out there, if there's no one that's fully branded the way you guys
Nobody
are,
has
you stand out
brand.
for sure.
Yeah, no.
Right.
No.
That's
There's
a big
one
thing.
corporate company, and that's the only other one that offers any semblance of good service.
Right.
But again, nobody wants to call a major national corporation either.
Yeah.
Because then you're losing that family touch.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah.
Last thing, what's kind of your 5-10-year goal? What's how you want to grow it and what you want to turn it into? I mean, we talked about that a little bit, but I don't know where that works in the timeline specifically.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how the timeline kind of pans out.
Right.
It's never what you end up thinking it's going to be,
Yeah.
Which is kind of the exciting thing. But so now I'm reviewing resumes for install technicians, and we're going to start there. And the goal is to build something install technicians, selling techs where I'm the acting GM. That's the first stage.
Right.
And then get things working nicely to where we can insert a general manager, and then now I can work on truly growing the business.
Right.
I can work on my business and not in it.
Most of the time.
That's the first goal.
Yeah.
So once we can get a few technicians in place, Haley's got the office and the phones locked down.
Yep.
And then we can get a general manager in place, replace myself essentially. Then I can start to work on the real growth of the business and the future of the business. And then, I'm on the fence about ever selling. It sounds amazing. My coach just sold.
Oh, wow.
And he's from Alaska and he's living his best life down in Florida. And he just started a pressure washing business and just
do the same thing.
Yeah. And I think about that. I'm like, if I started a business with what I know now and some capital, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool. And I have to learn all these stupid mistakes,
Right.
But that's kind of the goal. So we'll see if the selling goes. But really my end game is to have true time and money freedom.
Yeah.
Because usually you can have one or the other, right? You can have a lot of money, but you're tied to your job. You can have, not work a lot, but you don't have a lot of money. I want both.
Yeah.
That's
the dream.
I want to be able to call you up and say, hey, man, do you want to go to a UFC fight and we can fly to Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think about these things a lot. I let myself dream. You know what I mean? Because what do I want to do next, man?
Right.
I want to take all my buddies on a cruise. And I want to take all my buddies to UFC in Vegas. I want to, those are extravagant things, but be able to just do whatever, man.
Right.
At any time.
Yeah.
Take my whole family on a cruise. Take all my kids. When they get older, go on vacations and
not be worried about. The business is running itself. You can,
Not only is the business running itself, it's growing.
Right.
It's
growing while you're gone.
It's growing while I'm gone. I can go to the beach and I can open up Service Titan and I can see how much money we've made that day sitting on the beach.
Right.
That is
another round of drinks, please.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I am kind of a person that I was a little bit of a party animal when I was single for 10 years.
Yeah.
And but now I've blended the best of that world with being the best possible dad I can be,
right,
and the best possible business owner and husband I can be. But I haven't lost that touch of loving life, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. I want to be able to not only enjoy life in that way, but I want my friends to be able to do it with me.
Right.
So
kind of what's the point of building a big company if you can't enjoy the spoils of it?
Yeah. And
what's the point?
My coach is dealing with that now, and he's moving people from Alaska down there and starting businesses just so they can have jobs because he's lonely at the top, man.
Yeah, that's awesome to be able to do that too. You know, the people you can bless around you and stuff like that by giving them, income and that's a great opportunity to be able to have.
Yeah, and there's things I want to do, man. I want to be able to my dad's an older age, but he's doing great. He's in great health, but I want a place for him to spend his last years at my home, and be able to pay for that.
Yeah.
These are all things that I've got written down on my list as to what makes.
Do you have a vision board where you cut out things from magazines?
Yeah, mine's. I've done that a couple times, but
you have done that.
Oh yeah,
should you do that?
We're big. Yeah, I recommend it.
Okay,
yeah.
Right.
Janet does hers on her computer screen.
Okay,
I've cut out stuff. Mine more is sort of I've gotten into now just writing my goals down.
Yeah,
like, hey man, my business does X amount of revenue, and just write that out.
Right.
Every single day. So where it's manifesting in a way. I'm already living. You got to already live like where you want.
Believing that it's happening already.
If you don't believe it, it's not going to happen.
Right. So are you saying like what the goal is that you're writing down? So like we're making X amount of dollars. We're making X amount of dollars. We're making X. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I started doing that when I first started because when I lost that job before, like I was. I had a severance for that for
catch
6
you off guard a little bit.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But I just I read Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murray. Really good book if you haven't read it.
Yeah, no. Awesome. Check that out.
He has a lot of stuff about money and it's not manifesting, but like if your subconscious doesn't believe it, your reality is not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Not going to support it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to convince your subconscious to believe it so it starts to happen. And it, it also reduces anxiety. It did reduce my anxiety like significantly. That's just great, by like believing and, coming from like a religious past too. Like I didn't have that anymore. So this kind of tapped into that sort of religious aspect again.
That's been a whole nother journey for me too, is kind of revisiting my spirituality, my beliefs, all that kind of stuff. So that's good. I'm glad that helped you out.
Yeah, it's to this day, that's like maybe 2.5 years ago that I read that book, and that totally changed. I have like sort of mantras that I do.
Great.
I don't know if you call it anything better, but just things I wake up and I do, kind of like meditation walks and stuff like that, and it has reduced my anxiety, but also the things are happening too.
Yeah.
Right. was believing that this situation was going to happen, that we're going to be sitting here and I'm going to sit here with a bunch of other people. And obviously I had to do something to make it happen.
Yeah.
But the vision came as I started, affirming that it was going to happen.
Sure, absolutely.
So it's crazy.
Dude, I'm proud of you, man. That's
thanks,
awesome.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Brandon Counts, Potomac Plumbing Gas.
Thanks for having me, man.
Check you later.
All right. Later, dude.
See ya.